Now, as all of you know, in many European countries, the designation of the MEK as a terrorist organization has been lifted. That has not happened in the United States yet. But there are many members of Congress who have pressed Secretary of State Hillary Clinton to have the State Department reevaluate that designation, which, after all, was first imposed in 1997 during the Clinton administration. Many say as a friend to the regime, as a favor to the regime in Tehran. That obviously hasn't produced anything in response. And I do think that it's incumbent on this administration to make it clear, if it has evidence, to bring it forward, and if it doesn't have evidence, to remove the designation. I'm coming to that. U.S. opposition to international terrorism is unwavering, but it's an opposition that has to be based on facts and not ideology. And that's what we need to see. In the short term, I believe the United States has a responsibility for the safety of the people at Camp Ashraf. I think at an absolute minimum, the U.S. presence inside Ashraf has to be continued and perhaps expanded back to something like its previous level. I think the UN mission inside Ashraf has to be extended. And I think we need to make it clear to the government of Iraq that we will not tolerate interference in the camp, and certainly not the kind of assaults that have occurred on the inhabitants of the camp before. This is, again, something I think very high priority in the American Congress. But I think going beyond simply getting out of the way of legitimate opposition, democratic opposition to the regime in Tehran, that the United States should be prepared to provide assistance to the opposition, resources and information, continuing and expanding, for example, the work of Radio Farda and other ways to get information to the people still inside Iran. I think the utility of this kind of support has been demonstrated throughout history, such as by the example of solidarity in Poland. I think obviously we don't want to do anything that would give the regime the ability to say that the opposition was anything other than fully independent. But I think our support, and I think the support of other Western democracies, should go beyond the merely rhetorical. Now, in recent weeks, we have seen the UN Security Council impose the fourth set of sanctions against the regime because of its nuclear weapons program. I think sanctions are useful to put pressure on the regime. I think it brings us closer to the day when the regime will fall and there will actually be a democratic Iran. But I don't think that the sanctions, unfortunately, will be enough to stop the regime's continued pursuit of nuclear weapons. And I worry very much that the Obama administration and our Western European friends believe that there is now nothing more that can be done to prevent the regime and the Revolutionary Guard from obtaining nuclear weapons. And their fallback position is that the mullahs and the Revolutionary Guard can be contained and deterred once they achieve a nuclear weapons capability. I think this is a huge mistake, and I think it's a mistake for the region and the world, but I think it's mostly a mistake for the people of Iran. The fact is that once this regime gets nuclear weapons, it will be immeasurably strengthened. And the power of the Revolutionary Guards, already considerable, will be strengthened even further. So that this regime with nuclear weapons is not simply an external threat to its neighbors and stability in the region and the world as a whole. It is an even greater threat to the people of Iran. It's the trump card for the regime to stay in power. Now, I think it's very significant here that the position of the Democratic opposition is that it does not want Iran with nuclear weapons. Commentators in the West are continuously telling us that opposition to the nuclear program helps bring the people of Iran into closer support for the regime in Tehran. We know that that is simply not true. And I think it's very important that in Maryam Rajavi's platform for the future Iran, it says in point 10 very explicitly, and let me quote it so that the media can hear it. This is Mrs. Rajavi's own platform, which says, "We want the free Iran of tomorrow to be devoid of nuclear weapons and weapons of mass destruction." This is exactly the right position. Mrs. Rajavi's position is exactly the right position, because an Iran with nuclear weapons will be a less secure Iran. If this regime gets nuclear weapons, you can count on Saudi Arabia getting nuclear weapons, Egypt getting nuclear weapons, Turkey getting nuclear weapons, perhaps others getting nuclear weapons. So in a very brief period of time, 5 to 10 years, you could have a multipolar nuclear Middle East that will make everybody less secure, and particularly Iran. This is why it's so important that we support the democratic opposition in Iran to see regime change at the earliest possible date. Now some people in the West, although they don't like to put it this explicitly, but some people basically don't think Iran is ready for democracy. I think they are flatly wrong. I think Iran is more than ready for democracy. This is something that we feel very deeply about in the United States. And I would offer to all of you the great insight of our President Abraham Lincoln, who gave us the inspiration that I hope will be of assistance to you, that what we want for the people of Iran is what Lincoln wanted for the people of the United States. Government of the people, by the people, and for the people. Thank you very much.